welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me today is a new co-host for the basketball season and a very, very big upgrade from our past co-host, Coach Patrick Whitlock, Ravenwood boys basketball coach, an aficionado of basketball at every level. Tate is on assignment somewhere in the country, not even in the country, in the world somewhere, I'm not sure exactly, but I think to all of our fans after today's show, we talk basketball, will be relieved at the fact that we have somebody here that knows basketball. Because during football season, we were talking off the air, they're thinking about me and I'm making their ears bleed, but during basketball, it flips to Tate. So I'm glad you're here today.
Well, yeah, big shoes to fill, I guess.
Big shoes. Well, we got a lot of basketball action to talk about. The most amazing thing, Coach Whitlock, is here it is. It's the third week in December. I can go all the way back to the 30th of November, and we had some crucial games. I cannot remember a time in the 5 years that I've been here, I know you've been here longer than me, that these crucial games have been so early in the year, and how do you get a leg up in District 11 AAA?
Absolutely. I mean, what kind of better atmospheres can you have than what we had Friday night with all these rivalry games and, just a few games separating all the teams on the boys and the girls side. So a lot to be decided. Only 4 or 5 games in the district schedule, but it should be an exciting month of January when we get back.
Is that an advantage, playing it early, or would you rather, if you had your druthers, would you rather play, let's say the Battle of the Woods for this instance, would you rather play both those after, or do you don't mind the split up? How do you like that?
No, I would absolutely rather have it in January and February because we're still working on just several weeks of practice. I don't know that it hurts the quality of the games or the crowds or anything like that, but we would rather have these season battles later in the season. I think most coaches would agree with that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I absolutely love. I hate the fact there's pros and cons. The cons is I can't get to all 3 games. But the fact that we have a rivalry Friday where all 3 of these games, and I know, are so heavily attended. The Battle of the Woods, the Battle of Franklin, the Border Battle, all 3 going on the same night. I think that's a really cool storyline. It's unfortunate that we're having to split, potentially the innocent fan having to pick between one game or the other. But that happening's pretty cool. It spills over into the following Monday. You got the Battle of 840 coming on, after that following Monday. Speaking of, I'm going to start there because we have a very large contingent of fans out on the west side of Williamson. Not only is Fairview rolling, they're the hottest and the first team in the WCS Sports Conference to reach double-digit wins this year as they're sitting at 10-1. The Yellow Jackets, Trey McCoy, phenomenal job of what's going on out there. DJ Estes, the newest member of the 1,000-point club for the Yellow Jackets. Not only that, he had 44 against Marshall County, a huge win. I mean, if anybody follows basketball, specifically in the mid-state, Marshall County, Lewisburg, you got a kid that's a D1 prospect, not a prospect, already a signee for Lipscomb, Mr. Basketball last year, a very athletic team, very good team. Fairview goes in there, beats them 76-71 on their own home floor. DJ Estes, 44 points, 9 of 11 threes.
Big win for Fairview. I got to see them play earlier this year in our play day. In terms of AA basketball, they are definitely a team to watch. Should be in the thick of things right there at Sub-State, a chance to go to state and make a lot of noise in March.
It's so funny when you have these conversations with people that might not know enough about what's happening out west over there in the land of Snappy's Pizza, Chris Hughes. They don't know about the basketball, and I can't sell them enough to people. I said, if you want to go see a good game outside of this 11 AAA group, you can go east or west, catch Nolensville or Fairview, and you've got 2 quality programs on the boys' side. The girls' side as well, playing good basketball over there. The girls at Fairview have not had great seasons up until this point, but this year, pretty good season going on. They're sitting at 500, 2-2 in 11 AA. But on the girls' side, the Lady Knights and Nolensville, really good team. Expect them to be in the Sub-State, barring some type of big upset. But going back to Fairview, I have to sell the program. People don't know about them. They're kind of flying under the radar. They're sitting at 10-1. But here's the thing, Coach Whitlock. You look back at last year, and they play at Stratford in the Sub-State. Nobody gives them a chance. They get beat at the buzzer in overtime to go to the state tournament. What do? They turn around. They come back this year. Now they're sitting at 10-1. Have a few of those football guys playing. Cam Harris-Lusk is a household name here on this show. Receiver, leading touchdown getter of all classifications this year in football. He's the point guard on that team. DJ Estes obviously getting some some nice attention from NAIA Division II and III schools looking at him for to that niche for that shooter, man. That's always, if you can shoot the ball, you've always got an opportunity to play somewhere.
Absolutely, and you can't understate the job that Coach McCoy has done. A program that was kind of middle of the pack for several years, he's taken over. And, that Stratford game, that was a tough loss for them in sub-state last year, but that could be the matchup again this year.
It could be, and it's interesting to watch as this thing unfolds, because you got to think that Marshall County, you know enough about Marshall County, you've seen them play, that they're going to be in the mix at the end of the district in 11 AA with Fairview. You got to look on the Nolensville side. You got several teams in there, Murfreesboro Central, Nolensville, Forest, a few of those teams going to go. But you have to think right now with Bladorn and that crew that Wes Lambert has out there, they're going to probably be the favorites in 12 AA.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the unfortunate thing this year is that Metro's strength falls in their AA district with East Lit and Maplewood and those kind of schools. Stratford, obviously, one of the better teams. So,
Pearl Cone.
But, Pearl Cone. I mean, they beat Franklin earlier in the season. So, that'll be a tough assignment when they get to sub-state, but, it comes down to coaching, and I think we got the best coaching in the state in this county.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That district, that Metro AA district, could quite possibly be, outside of 11 AAA, the toughest basketball district. With those three teams that you mentioned, just think, one of those is going to have to go home.
Yeah.
So when it gets reach and play time, our group matches up with them. So that's the Fairview Nolensville group matches up against that Metro group. You're talking about some good. You've got to win. You've got to win that region. You've got to play at home to have that
and
advantage.
Avoid that district tournament upset that puts you in a precarious situation in that first round of the region. That's going to go a long way.
So let's get to 11 AAA, Coach Whitlock. Let's start with your game. This is one that everybody marks down their calendar, specifically in that zip code up there. Two schools, one city, the city of Brentwood, Ravenwood, Brentwood, Battle of the Woods. You're coming in. Let's start on the girls' side. The girls' side on Brentwood, 10-2, 4-1 in district play. After this game, Ravenwood, Coach Mariska Harris gets a huge win, 6-3, moved to 3-2 in district play. What do we know about this game?
Big shout out to Coach Harris, my colleague over there at Ravenwood. Huge win for the Raptors. Probably a lot of people didn't give them a chance coming in. It shows you just how tough 11 AAA is going to be. You go on the road. You've got to protect your home court if you want to have a chance to win this district. And Coach Harris was able to get that done. Ravenwood jumped out to an early lead, held it at about 10 in the fourth quarter, as it always does. It tightens up. And they were able to hold off a very talented Brentwood team. So big win for the Lady Raptors.
Stat stuff for the week coming from that girls' side. You look at Jazz Harmon and her performance of what she had, 22 points. The stats escape me at the moment with the rebounds and assists, but I think she was approaching. She either had a double-double and approaching a triple-double. Very close, very good player. Great game. But you look at the other side, too. You got Amelia Osgood. You got the Trussell twins. What Miles Thrash has done. He kind of flew under the radar in his preseason poll. You look at the preseason poll, the picks that we had, Ravenwood got the most first place votes to finish this year as the number one seed in the preseason polls. You know where Brentwood was? They were fifth.
Well, they're going to finish higher than fifth.
I guarantee it. They're going to finish higher than fifth. You've seen them now. Is it safe to say that this is probably it's just the way it works. I think this is a split. I think when they go to Brentwood, there's a good potential that they split this game. So it's going to come down to this. Who's going to have the most losses, obviously, from somebody else if it comes back to a tie in that head-to-head?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the pressure is now on the Brentwood Lady Bruins to protect that home court and get that win and get back in the thick of things. But with about 10 district games left to go, anything could happen. It's going to be it's really the team that can avoid a major upset along the road that will go a long way.
And you know as well as I do that
it's not easy.
Tends to happen. You go back to, even though it wasn't a district matchup, I go back to the Centennial girls beating Nolensville girls the other night in overtime by a bucket, and everybody's like, that's, how'd that happen? Centennial still trying to find their stride in 11 AAA, but I'm just telling you, any given night, anybody can win a game, and you don't want that slip up. You want to avoid that slip up, particularly in that late January, February frame of mind, because what happens mentally? You lose a game you're not supposed to. It could bump you a spot or two back. It puts you in. Let's be, for instance, puts you in that 4-5 game when you could have
which is a nightmare.
Yeah, when you could have easily been in the second or third game,
right,
or second or third slot.
Nobody's safe. I mean, I know that better than anybody after losing the 3-6 game 2 years in a row. Just nobody's safe. And like I mentioned earlier, it comes back to coaching. All these teams have excellent coaches. They're all very well prepared. and you can't have an off night or you go home with a loss.
Man, Coach Whitlock, that's like the 5-12 matchup in March. Somebody's going to go there on that stat you just gave me.
Hey, we wouldn't want it any other way.
On the boys' side, once again, the Lady Raptors win 42-37 over Brentwood. On the boys' side, let's talk about your game. The Bruins moved to 10-2, 4-1 after this weekend. They also played on Saturday. They beat Hillsboro. You guys, when it came down to your game, 54-38 win for Brentwood. Talk about your game.
Well, Brentwood's got a very good team. Jack Thurman, very good player. Harry Lackey also is a lot to deal with. But really the story for us is we were not able to score. Underwent about a 6-minute scoring drought in the second quarter. And Brentwood is too good a team to try and play catch up against. So we were able to cut it to about 6 late in the third, early in the fourth, but just could not get over that hump and make it a one-possession game. And, credit to Brentwood, an excellent team, played pretty good defense. Obviously, basketball is an easier game when you hit shots, and we just weren't able to really knock down shots, which has kind of been the story of the year for us, but it's something we're continuing to work on.
So 54 points, you'd feel pretty good about that going in. You wanted to keep it probably low, maybe.
That's kind of our deal, unfortunately. Not necessarily the way I like to play, but the way we're going to have to play the rest of the year. But we do feel like we have a good defensive team, and that's skewed a little bit because we had a foul at the end. But, we feel if we can keep teams in the mid to high 40s, we'll have opportunities to win games, and that's shown to be true. Our district record isn't great, but we've had an opportunity to be in just every game we played.
So let's talk about Brentwood for just a moment. Brentwood, extreme length. When they get out in that trapping top 2-3 zone sometimes, I don't know, did Coach Shirley run it again?
A few possessions.
Yeah, what I have seen thus far in this year, and I've seen them play 3 times, when they run that, they're really, really effective because of their length. They can really disrupt what you're doing. You can even, it's coming. You probably practice it, at practice, but to get that feel, that look, that length of them coming up on that trap can provide some difficulties for a guard to split the trap, number one, and get it to the wings because their defensive backside wings are coming up. So what defense did they run did it provide a little trouble just because you couldn't hit shots, or was it
they played strictly man.
Okay.
They went to that for 2 possessions, and we turned it over once, and we got a layup the second time because we knew it was coming. We knew that was going to be part of it. But their length, they're deceptively athletic. You look at them, and you don't think this is a very athletic team. But they've got a bunch of guys outside of Preston Moore that are in the 6'3" to 6'5" range that can move their feet very well and just cause you a lot of trouble on defense. They're also a very good zone team. We probably expected to see more zone, but didn't see it except on the underneath out of bounds. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They're a much better defensive team than maybe people give them credit for.
Well, if you happen to get by the first line of defense offensively in a man-to-man, what kind of offense you're running, the backside help can get there, close down and very fast. And they can play, I hate to use the word above the rim, but they play very high-level game where they can block shots and disrupt your shot. Ben Mills has
Very underrated player.
Probably one of the he is. I mentioned this earlier. I think he is the most improved player in the 5 years I've been here, from last season to this season.
Yeah, very good back to the basket scorer. Kind of just a glue guy for them.
What about his
It doesn't get as much credit as some of the other guys.
He can face a basket from the pinch post.
15 feet, yeah.
Head fake, boom, he's gone.
Yeah.
Double machine.
A lefty, those are always hard to guard.
It is.
So.
It really is. From a guard perspective, not as bad, but from a post perspective, it really disrupts.
You don't see that very often.
So hats off to Ben Mills, great player. The last game I saw him playing was Franklin. He got a little bit of foul trouble, and that really hurt them a little bit. Mm-hmm. So as long as he stays out of foul trouble, he is, like you said, the glue guy on that backside that can really take care of business. Of course, you got Lackey out there, a very explosive, long.
And Cole Massey, excellent shooter. Very long.
And here's the thing about Cole Massey, it's hard to disrupt his shot because why? He's 6'4".
Right.
He's out there and he can stroke it at a 6'4" position.
No doubt.
They've got the pieces of the puzzle. They're really good. They're really deep at the guard position. You mentioned Preston Moore. He kind of gets the ball where it needs to go, but you got McPherson coming off the bench. You got Winley coming off the bench playing really good basketball. Winley could probably start at guard for anybody, but just the way their rotation is set up. Going to be tough to beat down the stretch. Do you agree with that?
Senior-laden team, starting 4 seniors plus Harry Lackey, a junior. Experience, they've been there before. They just got to avoid, like a semifinal upset or something like that to prevent getting a bad seed.
And I mentioned everybody but their 20-point guy, which is Thurman. It's that guy
can score it off the dribble.
That guy can knock down the 12 to 15-foot jumper better than anybody I've seen at the high school in a while. not the greatest three-point shooter, can knock it
Good
down.
enough.
But the guy off the bounce, we used to have an old saying at Lewisburg and Lexington, if you make them shoot off the bounce and you're contesting, I can live with a made shot. He thrives off that. He wants to take one bounce, pull up, boom, and he can knock it down as good as any high school kid I've seen in a long time.
Very good.
Off the bounce. So, once again, Brentwood wins the Battle of the Woods on the boys' side, 54-38. They moved to 10-2, 4-1 on the regular season in conference play. Moving on to the Battle of Franklin next. You mentioned your crowd. Obviously, it's always hostile. It's always deep. It's always loaded with people. I happened to go to the Battle of Franklin. There's several storylines there that was interesting in this game.
Yes.
In the crowd, I was, I go back to the Sub-State game against Franklin and Mount Juliet. That's probably the largest crowd I've seen in Franklin High School until this game. I mean, there was not a place to sit. And that was all the way from the girls' game to the end of it. It was about 10 deep. But we're going to start on the girls' side real quick. 51-19, Franklin wins this game. Sydney Ryan, if you hadn't had a chance to see her play, Coach Whitlock, Coach Wild is sitting on a really good team. It's just they're just young.
Just a matter of time.
Matter of time. I still think they're going to make some serious noise before this year's up. N11 AAA, they're sitting right now at 2-2. They're sitting at 500 in the middle of the pack. In 11 AAA, but Sydney Ryan, 21 points, is one of three freshmen starting on that team, and they're going to be really, really good.
Absolutely. Coach Wild obviously been there, several different programs. He will get them playing their best ball in January, late January, early February, so they're going to be a tough out when the season comes to a conclusion here.
Centennial struggled to score. They have some pieces there. Coach Whitlock, they have yet to win a 11 AAA game, but like I said, they have
beat Nolensville.
They have beaten Nolensville. It's there. They just got to believe in themselves. I'm going to talk about Ashlyn Harden for just a second, the post player for Centennial. She is a really good post. I mean, it's a quick, very deceptive speed, great feet, great hands, great post moves, can handle the ball. I really like the way Ashlyn plays. She is a senior on that team. She is the backbone and the glue of this team, and I hope for her sake, before her career comes to an end this year, that Centennial gets in there and makes some noise on behalf of the Lady Cougars, because I love the way she competes. She never gives up. Hasn't been an easy road for the Lady Cougars for some time. It's 2 years removed from literally a bucket away from going to the state tournament.
Right.
But you know how it is, the ebb and flow of public sports.
Absolutely, you play with who you get, and it's a building process. But Centennial will factor into that race in some regard before it's all said and done.
Franklin Rebels 8-3, 3-1. Centennial Cougars coming in 6-4, 3-1 on the boys' side. It was electric, Coach Whitlock. You knew it going into the week. We talked about it earlier in the week. You could cut it with a knife. You could just feel it, man. People were just like, let's get to this boys' game. And when that thing started, everybody was on their feet the whole time. It was pretty amazing. Centennial came in and looked really, really good. It's the best game I've seen Trey Carlton play in his career. I think that Trey Carlton has matured so well across his 3 years that he's been here so far in high school. But he played under control, and he played like a leader. That's the first time I'd seen him. Not that he's not a leader, not that I haven't seen him play that before. I'm just saying there was a difference in him in this game. The turnovers, you look at the stat sheet for Trey, the turnovers, and the way he handled, a lot of these things don't show up in the stat sheet, the way he handled the ball, the way he facilitated the game. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And Centennial is a matchup nightmare for the majority of teams within this district just because they play a different style of basketball. They're going to get out and pressure you. Their guard play is almost superior across the board to everyone they're going to play. And it just creates a lot of matchup problems for the majority of teams in the district. Honestly, Dixon County is probably the best matchup to play against Centennial, but it's such a contrast when they play Franklin, Brentwood, Summit, Independence, and us. They let Independence steal one last week, so it just kind of goes to show you that you can't have an off night in this district.
And that's what everybody was like, how in the world? But there's a good chance. I don't want to make excuses for anybody. Independence may come out and wanted to beat them. That's just one of those things. But could have been overlooking trap game. That's what everybody likes to say. It's a trap game before the big rivalry Friday, and we weren't looking forward to it. But when they got this game, there was no worrying about focusing whatsoever. Franklin came out, did not play the best first half. Matter of fact, dug themselves in a hole. They were down 12 at one point.
Oh, wow.
And we're down double digits a lot of the game and never led wire to wire until the last 30 seconds of turmoil, which you're going to see right here on this clip. Watch the last 30 seconds of this game. So as you can see, Franklin won, won this game. Centennial won, won this game about 4 different ways. It was nuts. They come down, and the best player in the district right now, I mean, I don't know how anybody can argue this. Reese Glover comes down, gets the assist, draw the defense. Jordan Bruce, I guarantee you can go over there and be a name on one board in the corner of every gym. It's got Jordan Bruce's name because that's where he hits the majority of his threes. He hits the 3 to tie it up for the first time in the game with about 15, 20 seconds to go. If you go back, which you don't see on the video, Coach Froden pulls it out, tries to put it in the freezer with about a minute and a half to go, trying to force Franklin's hand to go man-to-man. Coach Jones decides to stay, play a little chess game, if you will. They do the fouls. Centennial misses the front end of 1-and-1 3 times.
Ooh.
But Franklin comes up 3 empty possessions on that.
I'll tell you, those are the kind of games that as a coach, when you lose that, it keeps you up at night. You can second guess and replay those situations in your head time and time again. But, just an epic battle, and congrats to Centennial. Huge win and what looked like an awesome atmosphere. I joke with my coaches that they could take over Friday night so I could go watch that game, but no one would take me up on that offer.
Well, a lot of people may ask, why didn't Glover take it to the hole right there? Glover does what he does. And I think as a coach, if I was coaching him, if he was coaching, you probably never would second guess him. No. When he got the ball and he pulled up on that shot, you're thinking that's just as a high percentage shot for him as there is for anybody. Now, it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if he taken the hold. Would he get fouled? Did he get fouled on that shot? You can't put yourself in a position to allow officials to dictate that call, even though they do sometimes, maybe not in your favor.
No, definitely not. And basketball is not an equal opportunity game, and he's obviously earned the right to make that decision on his own. Well,
he shoots the ball, they get the rebound, they come down. Dusty Williams, playing very sick that night, hits the floater. I mean, the ball's in the air. You can see the red light go off. And a great ending to that game. That atmosphere, as you can see, was as worthy as any Battle of the Woods crowds in the past. I mean, it was pretty neat to be a part of.
Oh, no doubt.
Trey Carlton finishes with 14. Also, Ben Brown finishes with 14, and Dusty Williams with 12, as you saw the game winner for him. Ashari Hainsworth finishes with 12. Reese Glover gets 1 over his average of 29, and it was the most unassuming, quiet 29 you've ever seen. And I tell you one player I like on Franklin's team, and it's one of those guys that don't see the stat sheet. Their point guard, Reed Kemp, is a really good point guard for them. Assist, rebounds, where he plays in the middle of that 1-3-1 zone. He'll draw some charges. Really good, solid player, good point guard. A lot of times I love to call out those point guards because they go unnoticed in the stat sheet. So once again, Centennial wins that epic clash 63-61, which takes us to the border battle. Coach Whitlock, Summit, Lady Spartans 6-4, 3-1, 11 AAA. Independence 3-8, 1-3 in conference play. The Lady Spartans win 53-42. Have you seen either one of these two teams play?
I've seen the Indy girls play. I haven't seen Summit. We'll get to see them on Friday. Obviously, Coach Goodwin always does a great job. Good win for them, moving to 3-1 in district now. Probably a little bit of a surprise there, but they're right in the thick of things as we get ready to go into Christmas break.
Well, the Colson
big game on Friday, obviously, with Summit and Ravenwood.
Colson girl in the post is a really good player for Summit, as well as she's got some really good guard play. I agree with you 100%. I think they got 0 love in the coaches poll as far as preseason goes. I want to say they were definitely in the bottom half, 6 or below, and here they are sitting 3-1 right now, currently tied. Currently sitting in 4th alone, which is pretty impressive to finish in the top half of the district with the teams that we've mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
And let's go ahead and do that rundown real quick. Brentwood in first, Dixon in second right now, because if they played head-to-head, Brentwood owns that tiebreaker. Page 3-1. The only loss the Lady Patriots have currently is a 2-point loss at 77-75 at Dixon.
Yeah.
Summit 3-1 in fourth, Ravenwood fifth, Franklin sixth, Indy seventh, Centennial 8th, and Spring Hill 9th. On the boys' side of that game, Spartans 4-5, 2-2, Indy 2-9, 1-3 in conference play. Summit wins the border battle 49-46.
Yeah, great win for Summit. Coach Goodwin going with a bit of a youth movement this season, playing a lot of younger guys. Independence, you look at their record, and that doesn't look very impressive, but a win over a very good Nolensville team, and then a win over Centennial. You just can't really figure this
Scratch
stuff
your
out.
head on that, right?
Yeah, but Coach Kyle playing a lot of guys. You never know who's going to show up for them on a given night, and if you underestimate either one of these teams, you're going to be in a world of hurt after 32 minutes.
Matt St. Charles for Independence is playing really well for them. And then you look on the other side, you talked about the youth movement. One half of the twins, the Wade twin duo coming in, one is not playing due to injury, will be back after Christmas break, but one is playing Destin, playing the quarterback for the Summit football team, playing really good right now, averaging probably in double digits for a freshman that played in the WMAA tournament 6 months ago and now playing 11 AAA ball. That's pretty good.
They're starting to adjust to the physicality of 11 AAA ball, and you can see that in how they're playing, and Coach Goodwin has them playing really, really hard.
Page, Lady of Patriots, 9-3, 4-1, beat Spring Hill 65-19. Not a whole lot to talk about here. The Wilkin Wilkin sisters are really good. Faith Wilkin, obviously a great basketball player, co-MVP preseason pick with Jazz Harmon from the coaches. That just tells you where she is and what the coaches think of her. And the Page Patriots moved to 4-7, 2-3. They beat Spring Hill 51-39 on the boys' side. Larry Noe picks up a very crucial 11 AAA win for him. Those are the games that he has to win. He needs to beat Spring Hill. He's going to have to, that Independence game right now, if you're just looking purely at records, those are games he has to win.
Absolutely, and I think both those Page teams are very dangerous. Coach Brock has a really good team over there. I've had the benefit of watching the middle school girls that are now freshmen there play, who didn't lose a game in middle school.
That's right.
A lot of talent coming up his way. I think they're really going to be a tough out as they move forward. And then I think Page is one of the more dangerous teams in our district. Once they kind of get it figured out and get it rolling, not going to be an easy matchup.
Well, we're running out of time. We knew it was going to happen quick. I'm going to say this real fast. Nolensville girls did beat Cane Ridge 52-26. The boys won 75-71. Huge win for Wes Lambert. I'm telling you, his strength of schedule that he's got right now, he's 6-4. Don't let that fool you. His strength of schedule is just as good as anybody in 11 AAA.
Yeah, played a lot of AAA teams, been very competitive, won a few of those games. Like we talked about Fairview earlier, Nolensville's going to be right there when it comes to March.
11 AAA boys, Brentwood 1, Centennial 2, Franklin 3, Dixon 4, Summit 5, Page 6, Ravenwood 7, Indy 8, Spring Hill 9. You better buckle up. We ain't even got to Christmas yet, and this thing is a log jam. I love it, man. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
You're going to see him more this year. Thanks, Coach Whitlock, for joining us today on Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.